In this session, I'm going to introduce a new concept which we know as coset. Now, you remember, listen to me very carefully that in various topics of mathematics are there in pure mathematics, where we actually come to know of this kind of uh, definitions like cosets and etc. Or this type of topics that I'm going to discuss right now in various different forms. Okay, but what we don't try to understand, or we do not understand at all, we do not know how to connect them together. Coset is a kind of topic which whose counterpart, I mean whose contemporary can be not counterpart, its contemporary can be obtained in the topic of linear algebra. While we discussed about subspaces, okay, probably you have discussed linear algebra, or your teacher discussed linear algebra in your first semester course. In the subspace, a contemporary of coset was there, from which something was deduced. So that these things are actually related to one another, but in different topics of pure mathematics, we come to know of this with different names. That's it. So coset is the topic that I'm going to define right now, and I'm going to show you by examples what are actually cosets and why they are actually studied. Okay, do not think that I am actually deflecting from the discussion of cyclic group. All these are related to cyclic groups. All these will march together. This permutation group, this subgroups, these discussions that I'm making, cosets, etc., etc., everything will march together at a single point. Cyclic group is also connected to them. Okay, so therefore you do not say that I'm deflecting from my discussion of cyclic groups. Everything is interconnected, and you have to know the every aspect of these things to get the actual overview of what is called abstract algebra. So definition is like that. Let capital H be a subgroup, capital H be a subgroup of a group capital G. Okay, if A belonging to capital G, the subset AH, which is defined as all such elements of the form A into H, where H belonging to capital H, is called left coset, is called left coset of capital H in G. Similarly, capital HA will be defined as those sets of the form small h into A, where H belonging to capital H and is called right coset of H in capital G. Okay, now observe that this definition is very simple. You see, two different sets have been constructed. One is this set and another is this set. What we don't know and don't understand that why they have been constructed. The question is why there is a need to construct this kind of sets. First of all, to understand that, we have to know about the inherent qualities of these sets, and we can know of these facts by consulting examples. Immediately after looking at the definition, what we can say is that the identity element, if the identity element is denoted by E, then we know we can define such an element, which will be nothing but E multiplied by H, where H belonging to capital H, which is nothing but H, where H belonging to capital H, and which is obviously capital H. And if I try to write it in the following manner, then we can do it in this way. So in case of identity, actually the EH and HE, they are becoming capital H in both the cases. So what is happening over here? We are able to construct a coset by the element, by the identity element of the group capital G. What is happening here? Just look at it. We are choosing an element from the group. We are denoting the element by A. And then with the help of this element, we are trying to construct two different sets. One is AH and another is HA. So, and these are the notations that have been used. Just look at the notations. Okay, these are the notations. So these cosets are actually dependent upon the choice of the element that we are selecting from the group itself. So identity element is also a kind of element from the group. So if I select the identity element, we very easily can construct cosets, left cosets and right cosets with respect to the identity element. Okay. Now let me show you the thing with the help of an example. Oh, one more thing that I must talk about or must discuss over here is that about the notation. I have written A and H. That means A star H, remember. Okay, so specifically for the multiplicative group, if the group is multiplicative, then we actually use this notation. But if the group is additive group, then to write coset, we do not use this notation. Rather, we try to write it in the following manner. This is the left coset notation for additive group, and this is the right coset notation for additive group. Okay, we just change the notation, and this A plus H is actually becomes all the elements of the form A plus H, where H belonging to capital H, and H plus A becomes all the elements of the form H plus A, where H belonging to capital H. Remember, these are all about notations. According to the choice of the group, whether it is additive or multiplicative, we keep on changing the notations for defining cosets. Yesterday, we discussed about one group, which I'm going to write it over here. I chose four elements in the group, which are E, A, B, C, and we constructed a table, which we actually, this table is actually this particular group with respect to the operation defined on the table is called the Kleins 4 group, if you can remember. So I'm going to write the group once again. This group sometimes also denoted by K4, as I told you. So quickly, if I write all the elements of the group, it will be as follows. So let me fill up the Kleins 4 table once more. Just give me some time. So I'm writing it in this manner. And sorry, let me use some other color to write it properly so that you can understand the symmetricity of the elements appearing over here. So that was the group. With respect to the operation defined on the table, this group is a finite group and a commutative group also. Now, there is a natural question whether any short notation for this Kleins 4 group is available or not. So the answer is yes. In short, the Kleins 4 group, because it is not possible for us to write always this set separately and the table separately. If I want to talk about the Kleins 4 group, then in short, we can write it as capital G. We are taking the element, identity element, we are denoting this by 1 as a symbol. And we can write two elements AB, and the fourth element will be chosen as AB, A into B. This is coming in place of C. So you see that all the characteristics of the Klein 4 table, of this table, will be satisfied by them. Just check it. Everything which is there for Klein 4 group will be satisfied by this table. And this is the notation by which the Klein 4 group is actually written. Okay, in short. Now, as you can recall, the definition of order of an element, we can surely write that the order of the element small a in the Klein 4 group is 2. Because why it is 2? Because there is a least positive integer 2 for which a square equal to e, and order of the element b is also equal to 2, that we know from this group. Now we consider a set capital H where we are putting 2 elements only. One is 1a, and I have discussed yesterday that this H is definitely a subgroup of the Klein 4 group. Okay, and also we discussed that this Klein 4 group was actually not cyclic, whereas this subgroup of Klein 4 group was actually a cyclic group. Now what happens is that why am I dragging this Klein 4 group into the picture is because of the following fact. Suppose I am choosing the element 1 from the group. 1 is present over here in the group, in the Klein 4 group, and I am choosing this element 1. This is the identity element, stands for E. I want to construct the left coset 1H. Now what will be these elements? According to the definition, this will be, just look at the definition of the left coset. So all the element, we will choose 1, and all the elements of H, which are in the set capital H. So by this definition, just look at the set capital H. Capital H has 2 elements. So one element present in 1H will be 1 into 1, and another element present will be 1 into A. And since 1 is the identity, so this is simply 1A, which is capital H. Now this particular set capital H is actually can be considered as the left coset of the given group capital G. Klein 4 group has one left coset, which is this one. Okay. Now let us just take a screenshot, because I'm going to move on to the next page. Just take a screenshot. I hope you have done so. So I'm going to move on to the next page. Now we are going to choose another element from the set capital G. Now let us choose A from capital G. For this element, we are going to construct the left coset AH. By definition, it is A into H. By definition, it is A into H, where H belonging to capital H. Now, what are the let me write the set capital H that we have chosen here. This is my capital H, and this is a subgroup. Remember, this is a subgroup of capital G. Now, according to that, we have A1 and we have A, and that is equal to A comma A square, and that is equal to A comma 1, which is 1 comma A, they are same, and which is equal to capital H. So AH is also capital H. Okay, here actually I'm writing A square equal to 1 equal to E. This is just the notation I'm using over here. And just look at, let us now choose another element, which is B belonging to capital G. Let us now try to construct the left coset with this element. Now by definition, this is this. Now whatever I am doing over here, that the entire operation can also be repeated for right cosets also. Similarly, we can do the operations for with respect to right coset HA. But once we understand the operation with respect to left coset, everything can be replicated with respect to right coset. So we don't have to show it separately. Okay, so we can, this is actually will be a repetition of the discussed matter. I don't want to go into the details. Everything is true for right cosets. All of these things are true for, true for right cosets. Okay, or can be checked for right cosets. Okay, so what happens? So we have h equal to h has two elements, 1 and a. So I'm choosing 1, and then second element a I'm choosing over here, and then I'm writing it as b comma ba, b comma ba. Now this is not definitely not equal to h. This is not definitely not equal to h. Is something else you are getting. Okay, and this is actually a subset of, you can say that this is a subset of capital G. Okay, so we considered the element 1, we constructed the left coset. We considered the element A, we constructed the left coset. We considered the element B and constructed the left coset. Similarly, and lastly, we can consider the element AB belonging to G, because this is also an element in the Kleins 4 group, and we can try to construct the left coset in the following manner. So ABH, that will be equals to AB into H, H belonging to capital H. So this is equal to AB1 comma AB into A. These are the elements, and AB1 will be AB, because ABE is equal to AB, because E is the identity, and here I am denoting E by 1. And this can be written as ABA. Okay, no problem. Now we know that K4, the Kleins 4 group, is commutative group. Yesterday I talked about it. Kleins 4 group is commutative, and if you have any doubt in this case, you can just check. You can just check it over here. Say for example, A into B, A star B. Just take this and this. AB is equal to C. BA is also equal to C. That's why I have taken different colors over here. Okay, that is the thing. That is the I mean reason for which different colors were used to show you the elements of the operation. So K4 is commutative. Since K4 is commutative, I can write it as AB, and this can be written as AAB. Then we can write it as AB comma A square B. Okay, no problem. Then we can write it as AB into 1B, because you know that A square equal to 1. And lastly, we can write it as AB comma B. Now you see that this ABH is actually equal to BH, because here BA and AB, they are same, because it is a matter of Kleins 4 group. So we are getting ABH to be equal to BH. Now what is happening? You are probably thinking that the teacher is doing this kind of thing, and this is just a matter of calculation, and ultimately what we are getting from this. The question is why. This question is actually hovering on our mind. Why this? We should consider this kind of thing. The answer is as follows. I am going to give you the answer to the given question. Why? The answer is, now we have the Klein 4 group with us. Okay, this is the Klein 4 group. No problem. What were the elements of this group? The elements of the group were, let us write it with a different color. 1, A, B, and AB. And by this operation of left coset, what we are doing? We are doing the following. We are dividing the group into two different class. One class is this one. We are putting a partition over here. This class, this partition is known as 1H partition or AH partition. And another partition that we are putting over here is actually this one, which we call as BH partition or ABH partition. So capital G is equal to K4 is your society, is your complex where you are all residing. And this is the block 1 and this is the block 2. So by defining by defining cosets like kind of thing, what we are doing is that we are partitioning. We are partitioning the given groups into different classes of subgroups. Okay. Again, the student, any student can ask me, okay, we have understood that you are dividing the entire group into two different classes, and we have understood that this element 1 and this element A are residing in the same building of the society, and the element B and element AB are residing on in the same block of the society. Again, the curious student may ask this question, why? So why do you want to know that this 1 and A are residing in the same society and this B and AB are residing in the same society? Now think of the society, think of your complex, and suppose nowadays your complex is actually having, I'm actually just from pedagogical point of view, I'm actually trying to explain why partitioning is done. Suppose in your complex, what is happening is that right now there is a kind of shortage of water. Water supply is not adequate to fulfill all of your demands. Or this shortage of water supply in your society is heterogeneous from block to block. Now all the members of the block, all the members of your society have been called to attend a meeting. Suppose in your society, in total there are 500 families, and all the one representative from each family have come to attend the meeting. Now, to get the solution or get the problem from this huge group of people, the society members or committee members will be in a trouble to isolate the problem. Now, suppose the committee member is choosing this person and asking him about the water shortage problem, and suppose another committee member separately asking this particular person about the water shortage problem. They are giving, suppose this particular person is giving him a reply, which is reply 1. R stands for reply, and he is giving reply, which is also reply 1. But both of these members of the society were asked about the problem separately at two different time frames. Suppose, or separately in the same meeting, separately they have been asked about, not together. Or let us not talk about meeting. Let us talk about every committee member sending representative from door to door to get the survey. Now, when the committee members are asking this member about the water shortage problem, he is giving reply 2, and he is also giving reply 2. If the committee members are clever enough, then they will be immediately, they will understand that questioning 1 and A, they are going to get the same reply. And questioning element B and AB, they are going to get the same reply. So there is no point in questioning 1 and A together. They can choose between 1 and A, or they can choose between B and AB to get a different reply. So the magnitude of the sample survey will be reduced in size. Time will be next minimum time will be consumed, minimum effort will be there, minimum manpower will be required for doing this sample survey. And therefore they are able to, and they will understand that 1 and A, since they are residing in the same block, their block will be having the same kind of water shortage problem, and B and AB are residing in another block, they will be having another kind of shortage or water supply problem. So therefore the two problems they can easily segregate, and therefore partitioning is actually very important. This sort of partition is actually very important for doing mathematical problems or practical problems, whatever you call it. I hope that I'm actually able to make you understand the why part of this particular topic, why these cosets are actually defined. There is another objective, and but before I write that objective, let us make this note. Let us make this as a note, just so that we can recall this always, that let H be a subgroup, let H be a subgroup of a group capital G, then all the left cosets, this is very important, all the left cosets forms a partition. Partition of G. So with respect to the given example that I have discussed just now, 1H and AH forms partition, BH and ABH forms another partition. I have diagrammatically discussed this point in the previous page. Just remember, this result is very important. Remember, very important for your online examination. Okay. Similar, all these things can, as I said to you, all these things can also be will also be true for right cosets, and you can try to recall this theorem. You don't have to prove it, that let capital H be a subgroup of G. This particular theorem will help you to recall that everything which has been talked about left coset is also true for right coset, but the result is also very important. You try to recall that if A belong to G, then cardinality of the set AH is same as the cardinality of the set H is same as the cardinality of the set HA. And it is pretty obvious, as you can see, that in this example, the cardinality of 1H and cardinality of AH are similar to H because it is containing two elements. Cardinality of BH, cardinality of ABH is also equal to H, containing two elements. If you repeat the process for HA, HAB, and H1 and HB, you are going to get the same thing. Now, I am going to give you two problem as homework. I'm not going to do this in this classroom. I'm pretty much sure that with the knowledge that has been discussed in this session, you can construct the thing pretty easily by yourself. So here I'm considering the group Z plus. Z is the set of integers. Whenever I write, some people may think that whenever sir is writing this set of integer, he write like this. Why he does so? Okay, is it just a killing of time? No. Remember that this symbol Z is actually reserved for center of the group. This symbol of Z is actually reserved for the set of real numbers. So in abstract algebra, actually we are actually using two different symbols. Okay, intentionally we are doing this so that you can uh, distinguish between them. Similarly, you can, now we are choosing a set capital H, which is 5Z, and the 5Z is the set containing all the elements which are multiple of 5. So we are writing it in this manner. First of all, you check, try to check. It is uh, uh, very easily we can do that. 5Z, this is a subgroup of Z. You can easily check it and try to find the left cosets of 5Z. Try to find the left cosets of 5Z. It will take some time, but this particular example will just, this particular calculation will help you to understand the idea about left cosets in a pretty clearly. Okay, this is one example that you can do. Another example I'm going to give you. What am I doing by with what I want to do with the help of this example is that we actually want to partition the set of integer into different classes. We are partitioning the set of integers. Another thing you can try at home, this is also a homework. Consider the symmetric group. Just see that we are connecting, we are trying to connect the previous knowledge with the current knowledge. Symmetric group has been studied in the discussion of permutation group. So we are considering this symmetric group. You know, by now you know these cycle notations. Okay, you know that 1 2 to 1 3 2 3, these are transpositions. 1 2 3 is not a transposition. 1 3 2 is not a transposition. I hope that you are familiar with this type of thing. And we are considering this set. First of all, check that H is a subgroup of S3, and then find all the left cosets and right cosets of H. So why this problem is important? Just try to partition the symmetric group and try to find out which of these classes are similar and which of these classes are dissimilar. You for these two problems, you can very well verify this property which is written in the note. You can verify this property and also this property. Anybody wants to say anything? Want to say anything? I just heard a noise. You can write in the chat box. Okay, so now this another objective that I was trying to talk about is the following is given by the following definition, which is a very important definition. I think a very important definition. And since the time is also running out, the implication of the definition will probably not be, I shall not be able to talk about the implication of this definition explicitly in this particular session, but we can discuss it, we can carry forward this particular discussion for the next week. And the definition that you must know is that let capital H, and you can try whatever I'm going to write over here, you can try this for the previous 3 problems, one that I have done and another 2 that I have given you as homework. So let capital H be a subgroup of a group capital G, then the number of distinct left or right cosets of H in G, cosets of H in G written as this is called the index of H in G. Index of H in G. How many distinct left cosets were there for my problem? The distinct left cosets for plane force group where 1H equal to AH and BH equal to ABH is 2 with respect to the subgroup 1A. You can consider other subgroups also. Other subgroups are 1B and another subgroup is there which is 1AB. You can try to look at what happens for these cases. Okay, this is left for you to check. I have only considered this subgroup and for which I have done the calculation. You can consider other subgroups and you can repeat the calculation. Now, with respect to my subgroup, we have got two distinct elements, two distinct left cosets for Kleins 4 group. And therefore, for my case, the index of H in the Kleins 4 group, the index of H in the Kleins 4 group, or I can write it in the following manner for your better understanding, is equal to 2. So there is a very important theorem which goes like this. The theorem says the theorem is actually known as Lagrange's theorem. Proof is not required. The theorem says that let capital H be a subgroup of a finite group, capital H be a subgroup of a finite group, not infinite group, then the order of H divides the order of the group. Same old theorem that we have discussed earlier, but written in with respect to the new notation. So we can write it as order of the group is equal to the index of the subgroup in G multiplied by the order of the group. So you see that this can be written as index will be order of the group by order of the H. So here also you see, in our case, in Kleins 4 group, the order is 4. With respect to the subgroup, the H is 2, cardinality is true, and therefore index of G, H in G is equal to 4 by 2, which is equal to 2. Remember Lagrange theorem. So we are going to meet in the next week once again. For now, I'm going to end my today's session. Hope to meet you soon and fill up the feedback form by tonight. With this, I'm going to conclude my today's session. Thank you.